This is the Unplayable Podcast, proudly brought to you by MasterCard. And on today's episode, we recap the second Ashes Test here at Lords, where Australia and England played out a thrilling draw to see the Aussies preserve their 1-0 series lead with 3 Test matches to play. Here to review all the action is cricket.com.au senior writer Andrew Ramsey, and we're at Lords. We're in the Spaceship Media press box, and we just saw some great Ashes cricket.
Extraordinary, wasn't it? Like, for a test match that had best part of 2 days lost to rain, you think, well, and any other time you'd think, well, that's taken care of that'll be a draw. But no, we had the grandstand finish, as it were, on a Sunday afternoon. Finished about 7:30. There were people out there with candles at the end. It was so dark. Jofra Archer was bowling so fast, even during the daylight no one could see it, so it was an extraordinary day all up.
It was a very, very special day, and we had a very special guest on this podcast. We're going to hear from him a little bit later on. Steve Waugh, your old sparring partner when you were covering cricket in the 90s and early 2000s. What was it like chatting to Steve? I mean, he's been with the squad for a month now, but his tenure ends.
Yeah, always good to catch up with Stephen. I always found him to be a very straight shooter, good guy to deal with. Gave very interesting media conferences, and he and I share a rare bit of cricket memorabilia. My only ever defamation writ, in which he was the co-defendant, and he kindly signed a copy for me. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I can't go back to Barbados. That's all I know.
Fantastic. Before we hear from Steve Waugh, Rambo, let's do our MasterCard moments of the match, and I might go first, and I want to go with that hostile spell of bowling from Jofra Archer midway through the afternoon session on day 4. I think it was clocked at an average of 92 miles an hour, which is, 150 kilometres per hour for our Australian fans. Just fantastic viewing. The crowd was on the edge of their seats. It did lead to the fairly sickening blow of Steve Smith in the back of the net, which had everyone very, very worried. He ended up having to retire hurt, and then eventually be subbed out of the game as the very first player to be substituted due to concussion. But for that 8-over spell, I mean, you just couldn't take your eyes off the action.
No, that was extraordinary too. And there'd been much hype about Jofra. There was some talk that he should play the first test in Edgbaston, but didn't. I think 4 overs into that match when Jimmy Anderson broke down, England were wishing they'd played him, but he certainly lived up to the hype here. And one of those stranger things that normally fast bowlers, express pace fast bowlers, are quick for their first few overs and they taper off. He seems to get quicker and quicker, not with just each passing over, but with every subsequent spell. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's
pretty extraordinary. What about you, Rambo, your MasterCard moment?
MasterCard moment probably was just today as a whole, really. I thought it was 5 weeks to the very day since England won the World Cup here at Lords in fairly extraordinary circumstances, and the two heroes of that were obviously Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer, as it turned out at the end. So it looked like history was going to repeat. It's a test match that they had struggled to get in when they batted first. They bowled out reasonably cheaply, but then that looked to be a good score when they had Australia on the ropes. Suddenly they came out this morning and Ben Stokes made a remarkable century, gave them the chance to declare and set Australia a bit of a target. You didn't think that a session and a half was enough to bowl them out, but they very nearly did it thanks to Jofra
and Jack Leach taking 3 wickets each. Another one we might mention, a third MasterCard moment, if you will. We'll share this one, so 1.5 each. Joe Denley's spectacular catch to dismiss Tim Payne. Jofra Archer's 3rd wicket. Payne pulls a short ball. Denley, in the sun, the rare sun that shone in the last session here at Lords, jumps out of the air, plucks the ball. Crowd goes wild. It was just one of those gasping moments. It was fantastic.
It was very reminiscent of a soccer goalkeeper or a football goalkeeper, for those of our listeners in the United Kingdom who don't know what soccer is. Very John Dyson-esque, although he was sort of running backwards and throwing himself backwards. This was just flung himself. And the equally impressive part was how he then threw it behind his back. As he sort of hit the ground, he bounced to his feet, and it was some sort of a circus trick. And Tim Payne could barely believe it, but that certainly left the game on a real knife edge at that point.
Okay, that's it. MasterCard moment's done. Let's hear from Steve Waugh. Steve, thanks for joining us. How about this test match?
Yeah, it was a great test match. Exciting, and I think the crowds would love the contests are out there between someone bowling 90 miles an hour and batsmen having to survive that and trying to score runs. At the end there was tense for us from the Australian point of view. Was went down to the wire. So really exciting Test match. Even though there was one day washed out, you still got 4 days of fantastic cricket.
Steve, you played against some great fast bowlers in your time. What does it mean for a team to have that kind of firepower in their armoury?
Yeah, it gives you the X factor. As a captain, you really want that sort of bowler in your lineup where you know you can intimidate the opposition. You can make things happen when it's seemingly a flat pitch, and potentially you can get wickets in clumps. So, yeah, he's a real asset to England. If he plays 4 Test matches in a row, that'll, I guess, test him out. So far, he's come through flying colours, 40 overs, and each over was probably as quick as the previous one. So, a very impressive debut. But I know that Test cricket, it's about longevity and how you back up and how you handle different conditions. But from England's point of view, so far so good.
So is he a bit unique? Like he's got that very easy run in, but it generates a huge pace. Did he remind you of anyone?
Yeah, look, I can't say I've ever seen him on bowl like that. He just sort of ambles in and gets very close to the crease, makes the most of his height. He's got a simple action. In a lot of ways, not a similar action to Glenn McGrath, but very repeatable, his action. So I can't see too much going wrong with it. And his control was very good for that reason, because he just bowls in a direct line and he's close to stumps, very upright, makes the use of his height. And he's got that deceptive pace, and he's got that, as we know, a pretty wicked bouncer. So that's something that our team has got to sort of analyse a bit and work out how to play that, because it was pretty effective in this Test match. But I thought today Travis Head and Marnus Labuschagne were fantastic, and really a couple of young guys stepped up to the plate today, which is what the team's been looking for. So we can definitely take some positives out of it. But yeah, he is a very impressive bowler for sure.
We saw you speaking to Marnus up on the team balcony. What were you speaking to him about?
I'll probably tell you after the 5th Test, but
Okay.
Look, it's a lesson really, and he's a really good kid. He's a very good listener, and he's very coachable, and I love his attitude, and he's out there trying to improve every day. And I thought that was a courageous innings. Yeah, it was flawed on naught, missed the first 4 balls. It was overcast conditions. I mean, it won't get any tougher than that. I thought he played an outstanding innings, and perhaps he could have done differently then. So that's something he can learn from for sure. And that's he took what I said on board, and I probably wasn't the only one that said it to him, but I think he could have potentially done it a little bit different at the end. He did a fantastic job, but he would have loved to have seen it through, and he was obviously a bit unlucky with the dismissal.
Big news out of this game, Steve Smith being concussed and replaced by Marnus. What was it like when you were sitting up in the dressing room and you saw Steve Smith cop that blow?
I think it was scary. I mean, before that was sort of, I was trying to sort of calm down Nathan Lyon, and he was sweating up a bit watching watching proceedings and having a bit of a laugh, and then all of a sudden that happened, and sort of just everyone was a bit sombre after that, because it looked ugly and it was awkward and hit the ground, so everyone held their breath for a couple of seconds, obviously, to make sure he was okay. So it was a scary moment, because he just got hit in a really bad position and went down heavily. So, and obviously for the guys that have been involved in what happened before, it was it was tough for him to watch.
And before that, he got hit in the arm. Are you surprised that more guys don't wear those arm guards, or is that something that's really restrictive when you're batting?
Look, I was never a big wearer of arm guards myself. I didn't like feeling restricted, and I copped a couple in the arm. And when you get hit, it comes up like a hematoma. So you can bat on with it, but I think that the problem is a couple of days later when it bleeds into you, the blood seeps down. So you've got to be really mindful of getting a lot of ice on the next couple of days. But I think some of our guys may have a look at some arm guards and a bit more protection, because his short ball he's certainly at your body. That's the strength of his short ball at the moment. It doesn't go down leg side, it doesn't go offside. It's very much arrowed in at you, so you've got to be on your best behaviour to play it. You're
obviously a big fan of Test cricket. Do these past 2 Test matches make you think that Test cricket has a long and healthy future?
Oh, for sure. I mean, they've been fantastic so far. I think the good thing about it is that the bowlers are in the game. That makes a good Test match. I'm not a big believer in sides getting 500 each. I don't think that's great for the game, but batsmen have really had to work hard in these first 2 Test matches, and it puts your technique under the microscope, and good bowlers can certainly put pressure on, and I think if you're scoring around 250, 300, you're going to get a result. So it's been a tough examination for the batsmen, and I can't see it getting much easier in the next 3 Tests. So from our point of view, we need to score big and score big in the first innings.
You've done a bit of work in the background over the years, but this is the first time you've sort of been back in the rooms for a while. What have you made of the experience, and what's opened your eyes?
Lots of things, but they're a really good bunch of blokes, and they're very professional. They train hard. They enjoy playing, and they see it as same sort of privilege we do playing for Australia. So there's no difference there. They see it as a huge honour to play for Australia. So we've got that in common. And obviously the days seem to be longer, the Test match days. And here we are talking at 9:15 after a game. So it's there's not a lot of downtime, which is I feel a little bit sorry for the guys that they're at the ground a lot, and there's a lot of pressure, so they don't get to chill out and relax as much as we did. They get a lot of support, obviously, from the people around the team. It's I probably need to sit down and digest it a bit. It's sort of all been a bit of a whirlwind the last couple of weeks. I've really enjoyed it. It's a team on the up. I think they're maturing as a team and they're finding their identity, and this series is a big opportunity for them.
Can you see yourself returning in a similar role a little bit later on?
I enjoy that sort of role. I mean, I've done it with the Olympics and some other organisations. I like it how it's not too formal. It's more the one-on-one stuff away from I guess the ground. A lot of my work is sort of done in the nets maybe, or in the hotel, or going for a walk in the morning. I think it's observing with fresh eyes, and if I can get the players feeling more confident and relaxed, I see that as my role, and also for the coaching staff and the people around the team. It's sometimes you're with the same people for a long period of time and you do the same things over and over again, and maybe sometimes it's good for someone to come and just check it out from a different point of view and maybe see things a little bit differently.
And you head back to Australia and you've got to get back on the bike, don't you?
Definitely got to get back on the bike. I've been pretty slack, and I've had far too many desserts at Lord's. I think I've had one every lunchtime. So those sponge cakes with custard and ice cream.
You're only human, Steve.
I am only human, but Mergus doesn't go for it, so I'm not sure what the go is there. But
you've been eating his as well.
Well, he hasn't been eating any. He's very very professional, and unlike myself with the desserts.
Right, so there's 3 tests left in this series. Where do you see it going, and can Australia be the team since your last time here to break
they definitely can. This is a series that's going to be very close. I think they're evenly matched sides, and we've seen that in 2 test matches. It goes up and down, it fluctuates. It really depends on who wins the big moments. We had an opportunity last night to really have a huge impact on this match. We missed a couple of chances, a couple of referrals. We didn't go our way, or we didn't use our referrals. If we'd taken those, then it could have been a different result. But England will say the same in the first test. They had a chance to put us away. So it comes down to who is consistent and who wins the big moments. And we're capable of doing that. I think we can win the series. And England will probably say that they think they can win the series. So it's going to make for a great 3 test matches.
Rainbow, we're back. It's just to knock over some categories to wrap up this second test match. And let's
Bit of housekeeping,
yep. Let's do our 3-2-1 votes. The man of the match was Ben Stokes. Does that mean he automatically gets the 3 votes from us?
Not necessarily. These things can be put up to conjecture. I would have thought that Jofra Archer had a reasonable case to be man of the match. He might not have on raw number of wickets taken, but I think if you look at the player who had the biggest impact on the match, they would have to be Jofra, I would have thought, not just for his wickets, but for his putting Steve Smith out of the match. And
in doubt for the third game, and then who knows what it's going to look like after Leeds. Let's give him the 3 votes. Stokes the 2 then?
I think we can slot him in for 2 because he even bowled a few overs as
did.
well.
Fantastic 100, his 7th in Test cricket. And the 1 vote, what about Steve Smith? He got the 92, 8 runs short of scoring his 4th consecutive Ashes 100 in England, his 3rd in a row against England, those 2 in the first Test match as well. Do we get to get one, or does someone like Stuart Broad, who took 4 wickets in the first innings, maybe Pat Cummins, who took 6 wickets across the game and batted well?
True. And I think Steve Smith, you can probably, because he was 2 players, so the vote that Marnus Labuschagne might have got can go to Steve Smith because they were basically the same person when Marnus was subbed into the game. And as Tim Payne said at the end of match press conference, Australians were asking if they could get 2 players to sub in because Steve Smith averages 60 in Test cricket. Not many other players even get close to that. So that was refused.
Yes,
but
Russ Managali said no, you can't do that.
We can split that one vote between Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne, who can be Steve Smithashane or something.
Sounds good. And Travis said it played very well as well, but we're going to give it to
Steve
Smithashane, whatever his name is. All right, the turning point in the game, is it as clear as Smith being ruled out?
I think so. I think given the runs that he scored in the first test when he made 280 and they won by 250, he was 90, or he was 80 not out when he was hit, and Australia were sort of looking at if not a first innings lead, then certainly solidifying their position, and all that changed when he was hit, when he went off. He came back out didn't add many runs because he was struggling with his sore arm.
That's right. I was going to say that happened 10 runs earlier when he got hit flush on that left forearm and he couldn't even grip the bat, which would have made facing Archer from then on even more difficult.
That's right, not to mention the effect of having to go back out and face the guy who's just floored you. That would have been taken a lot out of him. But and as you pointed out, Samuel, the changes that are meant to the fielding when England came back out to bat.
That's right. With Steve Smith off the field, David Warner goes to first slip. He was there for the fast bowlers, dropped one, but then he doesn't normally field there for the spinners and missed one to his right off Ben Stokes and then dropped one to his left off Ben Stokes. He was only on 6. He ends up making 115, so that was another turning point. I guess we can go back even further. Can the turning point for this game be in the first Test match?
I think if we keep turning, we end up facing in the same direction as we started, but we'll give it a go.
Well, Jimmy Anderson, if he wasn't ruled out of that game, if he was fit, Jofra Archer might not be playing in this game.
That is that a sliding doors moment, or is that just one of those?
It's not one of the categories, so we'll stick with turning point.
We have a new category just called dumb luck.
Dumb luck, yes. Well, there you go. I mean, talking about dumb luck, how good is England going? Just they're the number one day team in the world, and a matter of months out from the World Cup, Jofra Archer becomes eligible for selection, and he goes a long way to winning them the World Cup, and then now he's playing Test match cricket and probably their most potent fast bowler.
True. That's I'm not sure whether that's luck or that's very good planning.
Good timing.
Good timing. There was also some good timing here during the Test. It seemed like every time that Australia went out to bat, the clouds came over and the floodlights went on at Lord's. I'm pretty sure that's beyond even Trevor Bayliss's organisational capabilities to get the clouds coming in. But it's just one of those strange little coincidences that whenever Stuart Broad's him to get the new ball in his hand, over it would come and the lights would come on. It was very dramatic.
It was very dramatic. Okay, haven't seen that before, this category. I'm going to go with the concussion sub, which is true because it's the first time it's ever happened in Test match cricket. Smith...
I thought I hadn't seen it before.
That's right. Smith had arrived to the ground on Sunday, had a good night's sleep, but woke up feeling a bit groggy and had a headache. Didn't pass his concussion test, revealed he had a mild concussion. So then the Australian team lodged a concussion substitute form to the match referee, Raja Managali. And in terms of like-for-like replacements, they're pretty lucky with a right-handed batsman who bowls leg spin replaced with a right-handed batsman who bowls some leg spin. So he got approved. There were no conditions on how he can play. Never seen it before, but it seemed to work pretty well. Marnus scoring a very valuable half-century to deny England the win.
Yes, that probably tops all other categories of not having seen it before because it was a genuine first in world cricket. There's also, I'm not sure if it comes into their thinking when they make like-for-like replacements, but Marnus has admitted he's a bit of a batting nuffy who likes to hold his bat and look at his bat and tap his bat in his room, which is exactly what Steve Smith does. So I don't know if those likenesses need to extend off-field, but certainly they couldn't have found a more similar person.
And you're afraid that Marnus is getting typecast?
Well, he was... his first involvement in Test cricket was as a sub-fielder at a Test in the Gabba where he took a catch at short leg and his name became known not just because of the tangle of consonants that it includes, but also because of his obviously skills fielding close to the wicket. So he became known as a bit of a super sub. Now he's the super duper sub because he's actually gone from completely off the team sheet into batting at 4 in a Test match and making a half century.
And he pointed out to us that he's the first player to be stung with fake fielding.
I don't even know what fake fielding is. Is that like fake news?
Kinda, but it's more substantial, I think. You actually... Fake fielding, you get penalised 5 runs. Fake news doesn't really mean anything.
You pretend you've picked up the ball when you haven't got it, or...
That's right. You pick it up and you feign to throw at the stumps. Might off-put the batsman, so then they stutter and they get thrown off by it and they go, well, hang on, that's deception. We don't want that.
But you haven't got the ball, so how can that be any...
It's all an illusion. It's all fake.
It's like fake news.
Anyway, he's the first one that got pinged for that as well. The other one, I mean... Has there been a debut like Jofra Archer's? I mean, that was just absolutely thrilling.
Yeah, we have seen some remarkable Test debuts, but don't forget Nathan Lyon took a wicket with his first ball in Test cricket.
Were you there for Brett Lee's debut?
I was there for Brett Lee's debut against India at the Boxing Day Test. That was pretty stunning, 5 wickets. But someone said before the game that Jofra's the sort of guy that might likely get a wicket in his first over of Test cricket because he's that kind of bowler. And sure enough, second ball he bowled. I don't think it sort of hooped past the stumps. I think it went once around the stumps. it swung so violently back in towards Cameron Bancroft. And
It was like the turning points.
it
Just
went
kept
past his
going
off
around
stump
and around.
Johnny Bairstow couldn't get hold of it going down the leg side, so I'm not really sure how they did that, but how he didn't have a wicket in his first over is another one of those mysteries.
Let's talk about some unforgettable moments in this game. I guess we're going to keep bringing it up, but I just remember when Steve Smith got hit, there was just that collective gasp from everybody, and it went completely silent. Nobody spoke. Everyone was just transfixed on what was happening in the middle. Smith falling to the ground. The good signs were that he removed his helmet straight away. The players around him were concerned, but didn't seem drastically concerned. He rolled over to his side and he was moving around. The medical staff came over, but just for those first 15 or so seconds, after everything that's happened in the past, in the recent 5 or so years, pretty scary, and certainly something that I won't forget.
No, a very sobering moment. And it just had a strange feeling to it because it had been building and building. Though Archer had hit him in the arm and then bowled a couple more short balls, and he was clearly struggling to pick them and deal with them, partly because of his arm, partly because of the pace. So the crowd was kind of getting more and more involved and animated, and suddenly that happened, and there was just, as you say, silence. So it was quite eerie in a way.
It certainly was. The other one, it's kind of been overlooked now. Nathan Lyon has equalled Dennis Lee for the third most Test wickets for Australia, 355 wickets for DK and the GOAT. What an achievement for Nathan Lyon. It was a bit rough patch there a couple of years ago in 2016 after Australia got bowled out for 85 in Hobart. They were looking at rebuilding the team, and Nathan Lyon's name was up there, but he retained his spot, and he's gone from strength to strength, and you would have to think at Leeds he's going to be the sole outright third highest wicket taker for Australia.
You'd have to think his average of 4 wickets per test. Probably didn't have his best day at the office today. Went wicketless on the day 5 pitch, but did have a number of opportunities missed. Those couple of catches that we mentioned earlier on, a couple of LBW reviews that weren't taken that probably would have got him a wicket. So yes, he should go past the great DK. It doesn't actually how much Test cricket's changed. When DK retired, he was the leading wicket taker in the world with 355. Now that benchmark's 800, and Nathan will be he'll be old and bald if he ever gets past Murali's 800 wicket mark.
Well, he's already one of those things. He's only 31, so if he gets to 800, that's a fair effort. Can he get there, Rambo?
He can. There are some who think if he plays another 10 years, that's let's say that's another 80 or 90 Test matches. If he takes 4 wickets a Test, that's another 360 wickets on top of 360 each that he's got now, so it still leaves him a few short. He may have to play into his early 40s. The good news is that he's very sort of injury-free. He has played 60-odd consecutive tests. He bowls off spin, so it doesn't have as much wear and tear on your body as bowling fast. And as Shane Warne showed, as you get older and older, you grow more hair. So by the time he's finished playing, he may have a full head, and he might look like a 26-year-old.
Splendid. Okay, the forgettable moments. Let's go England and Joe Root out for his first golden duck in Test match cricket. Pat Cummins steaming in. He just removed Jason Roy, who had another forgettable Test match, dropped a couple of catches, didn't score many runs again. His position, no doubt, will come under threat for that third Test match. But Joe Root hasn't happened to him before. It really was a Test match at first, wasn't it, Rambo? And Joe Root copped a good one from Pat Cummins, and he was on his way for a Golden Globe.
It's pretty extraordinary to think how many Test matches Joe Root's played. I think it's in the 80s, isn't it? That he's
somewhere around there, yeah.
Not made a golden duck, which is pretty remarkable because, as we all know, naught's the most prevalent score in cricket.
Yes.
And you're going to get a good one first up at some point. That was a good one. Steaming in, he probably did well to get a nick on it, as it turned out. He's looked a bit frustrated at times, Joe Root. He had a couple of innings that cut short at Edgbaston. Didn't get going here. Who knows, Headingley might be a happier hunting ground for him.
And then for the Australians, the opening combination hasn't gone that great this series. I think the 6 innings between Cameron Bancroft and Dave Warner, they've got about 80 odd runs between them. David Warner has got 4 single-figure scores, the second time that's happened in his career. The last time was 6 years ago. What do we think about Dave Warner? He's been out 4 times around the wicket. Class player. Tim Payne said, he's played 70 Test matches, averages 50, so he obviously knows what he's doing, but he's got a bit of a hole to climb out of.
There's clearly a strategy they've got. England bowling around the wicket at him, targeting his stumps, as they like to say, as they in the modern vernacular, bringing his stumps into play. I always thought the stumps were in play, but I'm clearly not.
Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, if you hit them, they're out.
I would have thought so.
That's not true. I mean, there was one ball that hit the stumps in the first test from James Pattinson, and it wasn't out.
There is that as well.
Yes.
And it's very often that you see the stumps removed for not being hit, but maybe that's happened as well.
Okay.
But they said they were targeting stumps. This time he's sort of nicked off, as they like to say. In the second innings, Jofra Archer coming around the wicket to him. Just think that you got a feeling today he might have been away because he hit an uppish drive off Stuart Broad to get off the mark for 4, and you thought maybe this is the thing that'll turn it around. His luck might be in for a bit. He gets a few out of the middle and suddenly he's off because he's a very, very good player, as we know. But the moving ball, it tests you, and as an opening batsman, you're getting it when it's at its newest.
Okay, a rapid stat. You got a rapid stat? It's good because I've got one.
It's about midnight.
Yes, it's good. We're getting close. Now, Australia had never lost a test at Lords when they had won the toss and elected to bowl, and that stat remains in place.
How many times has it happened?
It was 5 times before this test match, so it's 6 out of 6. Australia, if they come to Lords and win the toss and bowl first, they ain't going to lose.
Well, that's good, because I was wondering how many test matches there's been where the coin toss didn't even take place until day 2. Have you got a rapid stat on that?
No. Where's your research team?
Oh no, they're down the pub.
They're well and truly.
Sunday night.
They're really truly honoured, aren't they? Okay, let's wrap this up. What does it all mean? It means Australia have a 1-0 series lead. It means they really only have to win one more test match to retain the Ashes, which is what they've come over here to do. With 3 games left, advantage Australia.
Yes, and it also means there's been a pretty remarkable turnaround. So I'm pretty sure I'll be sitting down after the Edgbaston test thinking, wow, that was impressive. 251 run win. The questions were, England without James Anderson, how can they bounce back and find a way of changing what happened at Edgbaston and also dominating Australia, which they did. And without putting too fine a point on it, it was Anderson's injury and Jofra's inclusion that probably brought that moment about. So I don't know if that means it's a momentum shift. We've had this discussion before about momentum and whether it can shift. We don't think it can, but maybe in this case, Jofra, who seems to do anything, has managed that as well.
Yes. Well, you've written a book on physics. Is momentum, can that be transferred from test to test? How does it work?
No, I think it needs to be...
It's not somewhere on the periodical table somewhere?
It jumps in little quantum layers in quarks. The way that it's transmuted. But,
through osmosis or something.
I've actually just talked gibberish there.
Okay, fantastic. What are we thinking about for changes for this team? You'd have to think Smith in a race against time to be fit for the Leeds test match. He's hopeful. Tim Payne said that he'll pretty much do everything he can to play in that test match, but only 3 days away. Concussions normally take a week, different for all kinds of different people, but generally, rule of thumb, a week. If that's the case, no Smith for Leeds. Marnus Labuschagne just retain his spot.
You'd have to think that they're probably a little less anxious about that scenario now than they were a day ago, given the way that Marnus came in and batted, made 50 at very short notice against some pretty hostile bowling in very difficult conditions. And also they'd be heartened by Travis Head's innings. A couple of young guys in the middle order who stood up, as they say. But yeah, obviously a team without Smith is going to be significantly weakened. So it's difficult to imagine with only 3 days, a travel day, a full training day, and then a sort of optional training day before the test starts, how he's going to show that his reflexes and everything against fast bowling are back to test match standard, because you certainly wouldn't want to put him in harm's way and risk being injured.
No, when you want Smith to play every test match, obviously, but he's got just over 2 weeks between the end of the second test and the start of the 4th test in Manchester. So that's a big chunk of time to get ready, go in there, face fast bowling. And there is that Derby Tour game.
The Derby Tour game.
Yeah, if he wants to really test his skills again. They might not be express fast bowlers, the Derbyshire bowlers, but nonetheless, fast bowling is fast bowling. He might be able to go there and just see where he's at and then be ready to play in that 4th test match. So Australia are probably going to change their fast bowling attack as they have done in each test so far this series. Josh Hazlewood took 3 wickets and was very impressive on day 2, which was really only day 1 because of the washout on day 1, so it was day 2, but day 1 he took 3 wickets. Pat Cummins has bowled a lot of overs, bowled a lot of bounces in that first innings, and then Peter Sill has played 2 test matches as well. James Pattinson is waiting in the wings. I think Tim Payne pretty much flagged that he's going to play the 3rd test match, and we've still got Mitchell Starc who hasn't played a game. So how the fast bowling
and Michael Neser
hasn't played a game. How that fast bowling attack shapes up will be very interesting.
True. You'd have to think there'd be, what did you say, at least one change with Pattinson coming in. Whether they'd look at Peter Siddle, who's 34 and bowled quite a few overs in 2 test matches, given the short turnaround, whether that's something they keep in mind or they have some strategy. I don't know what the wicket at Headingley has played like in the recent times. It's been a while since Australia's played a test at Headingley, I think. So that'll come into considerations, but I think it's almost a given that there'll be a different 3 seamers in at least one respect to what was played here.
Yeah, Pattinson in for maybe... the Cummins one's a tough one because he's bowled so many overs. He's the world's #1 test bowler. To leave him out, who's also a very handy batsman, it's a big call. But if you bring Pattinson in, probably equal with the bat, very close with the ball. Big selection calls coming up.
Big selection calls.
What about England? What do you think we're going to do with England? I mean, James Anderson unlikely to be fit, so you'd have to think that their fast bowling attack will be very similar with Broad, Wokes and Archer. The only thing question mark there is the form of Jason Roy. We touched on before, hasn't set the world on fire at all.
No, Jason Roy has done a lot of opening in first-class cricket, and it shows, I think. He's and looks, even that slips catch he dropped tonight, which was, by slips catch standards, fairly straightforward. You start to think that his confidence is probably starting to ebb. I don't know, the good luxury for England is they can pluck a specialist opening batsman out of the county system. It doesn't have to be in the squad. So I don't know what their options are, but... that's certainly one they'd be looking at. They would like a few more runs at the top of the order because Rory Burns has looked very good.
Yep. Doesn't look good, but he's been effective.
He's looked unusual, but he's made significant runs.
That's all that matters. And the scorebook doesn't say how you got him.
No.
It says you got him.
There's no aesthetics category in this podcast, is there?
That's why we do it. So
that's not video.
That's exactly right. Very good. I think that's it. Have we missed anyone? Well, we were critiqued last week about forgetting to mention Matthew Wade, even though I think we did. But
I think Matthew Wade was fantastic in the first test.
Yes.
He got an absolute belter of a ball here in the first innings of the second test and came in under enormous pressure on the last day with men around the bat and squeezed a catch. But he was very good in the field, and I think we've mentioned him now.
We've mentioned him, yes. We do. The squad will be one person lighter, as we've touched on. Steve Waugh not going to be around, but Ricky Ponting does come over. I think he's as a broadcaster, so we might see RT Ponting around the Australian setup.
Is it acceptable to sit in the Sky commentary box in your Australian training kit? It's a little bit partisan, isn't it?
I'm not sure. We'll have to find out and see. We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
We will.
We will. Well, that's it from us here at Lords. Thank you, Rambo, and thank you to our friends at MasterCard. We're going to be back next week to recap all the action from the third test and look ahead to that Derby Tour game. But until then, for all your breaking news, live scores and video highlights on the Ashes, there's only one place to go. It's cricket.com.au and the CA Live app.